All right, guys, so we're taking apart Dwayne's old engine. You guys remember we did engine swap on Dwayne's car. We did not film it. And basically, it's right here on the engine stand. So we need a couple parts out of this for my white M5. One of those being the valve pump. So this thing threw a rod, maybe two. You can see it here in the valley pan where that one's ejected itself from the engine. All right. Where are we at here? Where was it at? Down here. You can actually see all the way through the engine to the other side. The other side looks like that. And that's a little bit of a, there you go. You can see all the way through. You can see it right there. A piece of rod sticking out. So there's shrapnel all over the place. All right, go ahead and start it up, Monhickey. There we go. There we go. As you can see, this car does really good. Went and drove it, drives really good. There's no problems at all. And you should be really happy with it. So let's take this other engine apart and see what's going on. All right, lift it off there. See what we got. Oh, got a little gravy in the oil pan there. I don't think we're gonna be able to reuse the oil tubes. That's a little bit of a problem. So what we're gonna do next, let me take a look down in here once and see. Got chunks all in there. Nothing went through the gear. Next thing we're gonna do is take off the valve pump and do a little inspection on here and see what's going on. Jesus, look at that. It nearly just cut this whole engine in two. Look at the destruction. So here, there's one thing, I was talking to Wayne about this. The rod bearings didn't come apart. You notice that? The caps and everything's still on. The top of the piston actually broke off. And look at this car. The intakes, I guess the shop, we don't know if the shop that diagnosed it first didn't put the intakes back on just right, but they had gaps under them. And I kind of wonder if something didn't fall down in the engine. But it was not a rod bearing failure that caused this. And he had the bolts and everything done. Now the next question is, we need a set of rod bolts. These are ARP bolts. They're supposed to be reusable. Can we reuse these bolts?
I probably wouldn't if I was you.
The next question is, if we don't reuse them, can we find another set? Because that was the problem last time. Because they didn't exist for a long time. Maybe they exist now.
It probably could. Nothing's wrong with it.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, we're gonna pull this valve pump off. All right, so we should have it loose. Go ahead and pick it up. There you go. Set that off the side. Pick that valve pump up out of there. There you go. There you go. Okay. I know. We're using a trash can lid. It's just easier than doing that. So what we're looking for here is any kind of pump play. I don't see any pump play. I'm looking at the bearing on the bottom side. And the bearing, come on, he could get that out of there. The bearing looks good. All the rollers are in it. Everything's fine. It's barfing oil out right there. What we're gonna do, I think we're good. Obviously, before we put on anything, we'll pop it apart, make sure there's no fragments in there. But it looks like everything should be good to go. It's a salvageable pump. I wouldn't put it in there just like this, take it apart and clean it. That's good, because we can use that for our white car. And I really hope we could buy these rod bolts again. If we can't, well, I'll take those out and see. But we can't use the oil pan. The oil pan is actually broken. You can see where it split the block. It broke the oil pan in the same spot. You see right there. And that sucks. You know, parts are not cheap for these things. So what else can we use off of this? This Vano stuff, I'd be a little scared to use that. We'll save the valve covers. We'll take all the bolts out of it, obviously. Throw in the bolt bin. We'll ask Dwayne if he replaced that line. I hate to put a used line on something, though. You know what I mean? Just can't really reuse much of anything on this engine. We'll save the cams and stuff out of it. We don't want to take everything apart just to get the heads and everything off. We want to wait and see how it pans out here. But, you know, Dwayne, you're watching this. I know you are. We can tell for sure it was not the rod bearings that made this thing come apart. It's either something happened to the piston or something fell down in the cylinder. I think something fell down in the cylinder myself. And when we took this thing apart, the two vacuum lines going to the PCVs were not hooked up to the intake. But we don't know if the shop did that or those are dangling in the back of the intake loose the whole time. It could have sucked something in through there, a little rock or anything, hit the piston and just come apart. We know for a fact the cylinder head or heads will probably not be any good in this one. It probably broke the camshafts, but that'll be a video for a later date. So after a little further inspection here, the piston is actually still fully lodged down in there. Can we get the focus? There we go. See that? It's barely scuffed the wall. So just the rod broke. Okay, so a lot of you guys are thinking, why did this engine blow up? What happened exactly? A lot of times while these blow up, people don't do the rod bearings in them. When you don't do the rod bearings, it'll come apart and grenade itself. The other thing is the Vanos pump will blow apart, blow shrapnel through everything and crash it. None of that happened to this one. The third thing is people doing the rod bearings and not using the right rod bolts, trying to use the factory ones to torque the yield. They don't torque the yield right, or they don't do the bearings right, whatever, come apart. That also did not happen on this. And you can see with the piston still on the cylinder, somewhat unharmed. It had a little bit of damage, but we're probably going to say on this one just rod failure. Why would the rod fail? I don't know. At this point, do I think something fell down in the cylinder and hit it after seeing that? I mean, it could have, but I don't know. I don't think so. It's almost like the rod just snapped, and it snapped pretty clean, and that broken rod is what did all the damage. And just stabbed holes on the block, and that almost cut the block in half. He said he was driving down the interstate and just come apart, just like somebody reached over and turned the key off. And he wasn't into it at that minute. I don't think it's a power issue. That car has a tune on it. I don't think it's even that. If it was going to be something with the tune, it's got too much power in it. It's going to bend a lot of rods. It's going to deform a lot of stuff. It did not do that at all. This broke it clean off. I don't know what the failure. This is definitely a different one, but he's back up and running. Everything seems to be good, and we're just waiting on shipping to transport that car back to him, and he's good to go. Will I buy some more of these cars? I'm not buying anything right now until we get the Figaro done. It's apart right now, and we get my white M5 done, because that car's been waiting for a while. We kind of need a way to get this apart to see what direction we're gonna go with that. So right now the white M5 needs, if we can salvage this Vanos pump, I think we can. It needs main bearings, rod bearings. We bought a new to me crank for it. That's perfect shape. We need head bolts. We need head gaskets. I think I already bought the valve cover gaskets. I have to look and see. Don't remember if I use those or not. I might have used them on the blue M5. And that's pretty much it. It needs probably $1,000 to put it back together. But I kind of want to leave this engine together on the engine stand. Oh, and timing tools. So if we had any questions with the other engine, we have the engine here all together. There's no question. The only thing I have a question on the other engine, when we separated the bottom of the block to get the crank out, there was a spring and a ball bearing fell out on the floor. I did not see where that went. But now we have this engine here, we could see where it went. But that's it. I waited a long time to make this video, guys. Dwayne's car's been done for a couple weeks now, several weeks now. With the weight on parts was real for that car. I mean, horrendous weight on the rod bolts. Took a while to source the engine for it. All this stuff is getting very, very hard to do. Shout out to Dr. Vanos for hooking us up with the pump. Dwayne's car, let me see here. Forgot what I was talking about. The Vanos line. Dr. Vanos sent us the Vanos line for that. Dr. Vanos also sent us the pump for the Blue M5, I believe it was. Or was it the M6? Holy crap, we're getting mixed up. That's going to be it, guys. We'll talk to you again very soon. We hope you enjoy the M5 content. Have a good day.